of all the ways that can
Okay, so if we are looking back at this picture back here, thank you for your patience. What would the line of symmetry or axis of symmetry be? What would our line of symmetry be on this parabola here? So I'm drawing it dotted because the line of symmetry doesn't go on, it doesn't actually be part of the graph. That's why I drew it dotted. Thank you, those of you who are sitting quietly. So what we're going to do for the axis of symmetry formula, it's going to be x equals negative v divided by 2a. This comes from completing the square. Remember, we spent that one day on completing the square. Remember, it's a b over 2. And so if we solve that equation for it, then we get to completing the square. It would be b over 2, but negative because we're solving it. And then an a if there was a number in front of the x squared. So this is standard form of a parabola. So what's different, a standard form of a quadratic or a parabola, same thing. So is that we have a y there instead of what? Instead of 0, okay? So we're using our a and our b from this equation here. So if we're using the formula x equals negative v over 2a, what's b? Negative 2. So it's going to be the opposite of negative 2 over 2 times what's a? 1. It's 1 that is assumed to be in front of this x squared here. So we simplify that. That gives us positive 2 over 2, which equals 1. So our vertex will have an x value of 1. And then anybody remember how we would find our y value of our vertex? I know it's been a bit. Nice, it's algebra 1. We're going to use the equation somehow. Yeah, we're going to plug it into the equation. So we have this 1, we're going to substitute it in for the x value. So we have 1 squared minus 2 times 1 plus 3, and then we simplify that. So 1 minus 2 plus 3, which equals what? It's equal to 2. So our y value of our vertex is going to be 2. So our vertex is going to be 1, 2. When I write this vertex, I put parentheses around here. Why? Why do I put parentheses there? It's showing that it's a point. Okay? Getting a lot of students that are not putting parentheses around a point. I need you to do that on this next quiz and start from here on. I'm going to start taking off if you don't do that. You need to have that around there to show that it is a point. So this is the vertex, and our axis of symmetry is going to be a vertical line that goes through that. So we're going to draw this axis of symmetry. And you'll see in a little bit where we're going to use that axis of symmetry. Yes, Leah? Oh, okay. So we're going to make a table. And that just helps us organize the information. So we have the vertex. We're going to put that point there. And this says that remember to make a graph at least 3 points. Some teachers will ask you to do 5 because really it would be more accurate with 5. It's pretty tedious, so I'm going to let you get away with just 3. So, but you have to be real careful and accurate with those 3. So we pick a point 1, 2, and then we're going to pick another x value that's close to that x. The reason being that we want it to fit on our graph here. Because of this x squared, the numbers can get big really quick. So that's why we want to pick a number close to that. So what's a number that's close to 1? 0 or 2. Either one would work. So I'm going to do 2. So now once again, to find the y value, what do we do with that? 2. Substitute it into our equation. So we have y equals 2 squared minus 2 times 2 plus 3. And what would that give us? Feel free to get up and get a calculator if you need to. 3. That would add up to 3. So I have my first point, 1, 2. I'm going to graph my second point, 2, 3. So the reason we have this axis of symmetry is we're going to use that to find our third point. Because it's a pain to say take that number and substitute it in to find another x and y value. So we're going to use this axis of symmetry. This point is a symmetric across this line. So this point is 1 to the right. So we're going to go 1 to the left. So I'm going to undo those two things that I just drew, and the point goes right here. So again, we went 1 to the right to get to that point of the axis of symmetry. So we're going to go 1 to the left because it's symmetric. See how those 2 points now are symmetric across that line? So now when I go to draw my graph, a parabola here is curved. It is not pointed, it is curved. Just take my word for that. You could do a lot of decimal values or fractions there, and you would see that it is curved. And then the two sides go up and out. They go up and up slowly and out slowly because of the square there. Those squares make it go up and then out slowly. It does not go straight up. Okay. So do we need arrows on them? Yeah, because they go on forever. Okay, on to the next one. Anybody still looking at this? AOS. It stands for axis of symmetry. So let's do that. Thank you for the reminder. So the axis of symmetry is the equation of this line. What is the equation of this line? Can you say it again? X equals 1. So this equation of this line, you have to have that x equals. A very common mistake students say is the axis of symmetry is 1. It is not 1. Axis of symmetry is a line. So we need an equation of a line. So for the ones that we're only doing ones that face up or down right now. So it's always going to be an x equals for those. Okay, on to the next example. So now we're going to draw a graph for y equals 2x squared plus 8x plus 6. So we start with our formula, negative b over 2a. And so the b would be what? 8. And a would be 2. So it's a is 2, b is 8. Questions on how we got that? A is 2 and b is 8. Okay, now we're going to simplify it. So this gives me a negative 8 over 4, which is negative 2. So x equals 2. My x value is 2. And then to find my y value of my vertex, how do I find the y value? Thank you. It is supposed to be a negative 2. So we want to take that negative 2 and do what to find our y value? Substitute it into the equation. So we have y equals 2 times negative 2 squared plus 8 times negative 2 plus 6. So now when we're simplifying this, what do we do first? Do we do the multiplication here, or do we do the exponent first? Exponent y. PEMDAS, order of operations. So we want to do the exponent first. So this would give us 2 times positive 4, or 8. And what is that going to give us for an answer? I know the answer, but I need you to compute it. So 8 plus 6 is 14. Minus the 16 from that. Negative 2. So this gives us a negative 2. So it's negative 2. Just so happens the x and the y are the same. So now we make a table. The table helps organize our information. Negative 2, negative 2. We are going to graph that point, negative 2, negative 2. And our axis of symmetry, remember, is a vertical line that goes through that. Yes, I'm talking a lot today. This is a lot to talk about, to do these. So what do we do next? Yeah, we're going to pick another number close to this negative 2. So what would be a number that's close to negative 2? So I heard negative 3. I heard a negative 1. I'm going to pick 0 just because I'd rather not deal with the negative. And that's still pretty close. And then it'd be easier for me not to make a mistake. So I get y equals 2 times 0 squared plus 8 times 0 plus 6. What do I get when I simplify that? So we just get 6. So 0, 6. So there's my second point. I'm going to use my axis of symmetry to find my third point so that I don't have to do any substituting in and all sorts of computing. So my distance from my axis of symmetry is 1, 2 to the right. So it's going to be 1, 2 to the left. So once again, once I find that point there, I'm going to look at the distance away from the axis of symmetry, which would be 1, 2 to the right. And so I'm going to go 1, 2 to the left. And then I connect. And again, it is curved, facing up, but not straight up. Okay, go ahead and do the U try. So for the U try, you're just going to find a vertex and the axis of symmetry. Axis of symmetry on this one, thank you, is x equals negative 2. So you should be doing the you try right now. Oh, oh no, it's down on the bottom.
You good?
It would be
Oh, I'm alive. Oh, bro. Oh. So the negative B is going to be like that time.
Can I get somebody to pass out the worksheets, please? Can I get a volunteer to pass out the worksheets, please? Okay, I'm going to find somebody to do it.
He's not showing my boy. Ever since I showed you the phone charger station, ever since the person everyone's using it.